नमस्कार। रसोई के रहस्य के फेस्टिवल्स ऑफ इंडिया में आप सबका एक बार फिर से स्वागत है। आज हम अपना आखिरी त्योहार मनाने जा रहे हैं। दिस इज द लास्ट फेस्टिवल ऑफ द ईयर 2022 एंड it has been a wonderful journey of festivals and conversations and food and celebrations through this entire year. We are going to be speaking with our guest today of the most beautiful festival of Christmas.
रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम
Christmas is something that we all know about. We all know that Jesus Christ was born, and we know about the star, and we know about Mary and Joseph and all the various celebrations. So that's a very simple and a global, kind of recognition and information of the festival. I have a very special guest here with me who's going to talk to me about her perception of Christmas, what Christmas means to her, her family, her celebrations, and everything. So let me not take any more time, but introduce to you Rajee Philip-Mathew. Hi Rajee, welcome to Rasoi ke Rahasya.
Hi Payal, thank you so much for inviting me to your space, Rasoi ke Rahasya. I'm a huge fan because of the work you do. Because Rasoi ke Rahasya, when I came across your channel and the concept of it, that's when I actually realize the challenges which are there, but because of our privilege we don't realize that if you are like sight impaired, then how do you navigate what comes natural to people like me, sorting out of vegetables, everything that you teach and you share. That was an eye-opener, something that I hadn't thought about. So your space is something that I really appreciate, and I share with all my friends to spread the reach of this channel. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you too. Those are very kind words for people who don't know anything about Rajee. Let me tell you something about her. She's a friend, and like many of my other friends, we share, we have a common love for food, for information, for knowledge, for trivia, for a whole lot of things. She calls herself an army brat, so that should say everything about her. She's, a South Indian who was born in the North, has traveled all over the place, has, married a person who's also from some other place. So, मतलब basically खिचड़ी बहुत अच्छी है, खूब सारी अच्छी वाली खिचड़ी बीरबल की पकती है. And I know that Rajee has a lot of information for us. So let's step into Rajee's beautiful mishmash and khichdi existence that is going to be really tasty and full of masala. Over to you, Rajee. So Christmas, like I said, we did Easter and, Good Friday. I spoke with an Anglo-Indian friend. So this had to be Malu. There is no other way Christmas can be celebrated but with a Malayali. So over to you and tell us more.
So Christmas, like if I'm talking about my earliest memories, then Christmas was all about food for me. It was about meeting the grandparents, spending time with my cousins, and obviously the food that elders cooked for us. And as an adult, it still remains that way. More than the religious aspect of it, Christmas is all about celebration for me. It's about food, friends, family, and of course the decorations. And of all the festivals, Christmas happens to be my favorite. And there are multiple reasons for it. One is the season. I love winters. It falls on December, and I was born in Jhansi, so winter was, a good deal colder there. Not like the Mumbai weather that I experience now because I'm living here. But that was one part, my favorite season. And second, Christmas Mass was always midnight Mass for us. Masses were there, but we always attended the the midnight Mass. Now, mornings, I'm not a morning person. So the Sunday masses were like, a deal for me to get up and go there. But mom insisted devout Christian. So we had to go for Sunday masses. And we are devout Christian just like her, just like she hoped that we would be. Me and my sister. So midnight mass means, I'm in full energy. It's night. I'm a nocturnal person. So I truly enjoyed every aspect of that mass, from the choir singing, from even the story, through the Bible reading. And then once the mass was over, we would have coffee and plum cake and wish everyone Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes, that was like a truly joyful experience because the celebration and my personality, it matched. Everything was in sync. So, Christmas happens to be my favorite festival, and one of my earliest memories with food, like with good food, or like a vivid memory, also happens to be a Christmas memory. I was 5 or 6 years old when I was sent to Kerala to live with my cousins. My mom was posted a bit interior in a place called Mauralipur, where she couldn't really, manage keeping a young child and the job. So I was sent off to my cousins, and my maternal grandmother lived quite close to their place as well. So during, Onam vacations or even Christmas, I would go there and visit my maternal part of the family. So there, midnight mass, the younger generations would go, but young children like me or the older generation would go for the morning mass because it's night, they have to sleep early because of health benefits and stuff like that. And even young children, they're more advised to stay at home and sleep at the proper time and stuff. So my first Christmas mass I was going with my grandmother, and before leaving for church, she hands me this parcel, a leafy parcel. Food parcel. Now, it's a snack called kumbalappam. Now, appam, like refers to, it's a generic name for snacks made out of rice flour in various shapes. And kumbal is referring to the shape of that snack. So, the leaf parcel, mold is made out of fresh bay leaf. Okay, and the tejpat. So, it's folded like an ice cream cone. And inside you have a rice dough. So rice dough is like roasted rice flour, and it's seasoned with a little bit of salt, and then you have roasted cumin and a bit of cardamom coarsely pounded mixed into the dough. And then she added jackfruit pulp and a bit of chunks to it. Now, December usually is not a season when you get commonly jackfruit, but then there are certain varieties which fruit in December also.
Right.
But it's very rare. But we had one of those trees in our backyard which would fruit around November, December. So we had fresh jackfruit at that point of time. So she added this. Now imagine this. I think it's a vivid memory because of how I felt when I opened that parcel. Bay leaf itself has a sweet, peppery note. Okay. And then when you open the parcel, you have this early scent of roasted rice flour which is steamed, and cardamom, cumin, and of course the pungent and really strong smell of jackfruit. My sensory organs were in heaven because of this, the flavors and fragrance, and every bite was delicious. There hasn't been a single Christmas morning where I have not remembered that snack. I'm actually scared to make it because if it doesn't turn out to be the way she made it, I think I'll spoil my memory or something. I'm scared of it. So I've never made a kumbalappam by myself. I've eaten what others have made it, but I've not made it. That taste is still so fresh in my memory. So that's one of my earliest memories of Christmas, going to the church while eating, this parcel that my grandmother handed to me. And then by the time I reached the church, it was over. Then it was story time, Mary, Joseph, Jesus was born. He was born in a manger, and there were animals around, and then there's a crib decorated so you can relate to the stories. So it was all about that. It wasn't about, this is my God, this is the God I worship, or it was about these stories and food and festivals.
It's the pageantry of the whole thing. It's the pageantry that really, and to a young child, imagine the beautiful colors, the entire experience must be so wonderful.
Yes, and because it's not just the church that sparkles. I'm a Mallu, right? We Mallus love our gold. So everyone is decked up in gold jewelry, their best silk saris, and they're like shining more than the church is shining. So as a Mallu, that's a very different experience. Go to Kerala, you attend a church, Christmas mass in Kerala, that's a unique experience.
I'm quite sure it must be like that. So then this is childhood and Kerala. And you said that I remember you mentioned that the whole mishmash of three different sects or sections of Christianity that your family embodies.
Yes, my father is a Jacobite. He's an Orthodox Christian. My mom is a Roman Catholic, and I got married to a Northernite. Now, Roman Catholic obviously falls under the Vatican, administration. So certain things are definitely, adapted from how the West does it, because the mandates are same. But there's definitely an infusion of Indian region, specific things when it comes to, let's say, ceremonies like marriages or everything. There are things which you wouldn't see in a Western setup, Western Christian setup, even in Catholics. But when it comes to Orthodox and Marthomite, there are slight differences in the way the worship is done. It's all the same, but in how it progresses and how lengthy the masses are, and certain parts of the masses are different, although it conveys the same message and overall it is the same flavor. But you can see from the way the mass is going, the chants which happen, the language that they use in those chants, they're slightly different. The mannerisms in which, or the order of the prayer in which it is concerned, like for confession, how it happens in Catholic, how it happens in an Orthodox church or a Marthomite church would be slightly different in way. So I saw these are, when it comes to Malus, these are three major branches of Christianity. So you're like an Orthodox church or a Marthomite church or a Catholic church. I've seen all three, and this is only the faith part of it, the worship part of it.
Right.
So when it comes to food, everyone is the same. There is,
okay.
And that is what fascinating, because when you look at festivals, you have these, certain nuances which are added because of a different caste or different region, and in a way, these branches could be seen that way. But when it comes to food or the celebratory part of it, it's the same. It's Mallu. It's not Marthomite or Orthodox or Catholic. It's Mallu. It's Keralite food. So that means when I go to my paternal side of the family or my maternal side of the family, it's the same. Even though they are from two different branches of the church. But there is no distinction that way. Unless you're living in a completely different region altogether, then yes, because of the local food produced or the local customs, there would be changes. But otherwise, Christianity in itself, even if you belong to different churches, that doesn't affect your food preferences or celebratory food, which is put on the Christmas table.
I think should we be following food rather than faith? I think seriously, food is at least more unifying than everything else. Religion is, unfortunately, it's a very controversial statement to make, but it is more divisive than unifying. So I think we should probably worship food. It at least unifies.
Best suggestion ever. I mean, why are we even talking about it? That is what unites us. If you see food is the common, a common ground for your celebrations. Whether it's a Hindu or a Muslim, when you say festival, all I can think about is the food that is being served. Yes, it's just because the way I think is just a turn of fate that I was born into a Christian family and you were born into a Hindu family. It could have been, the other way around too. So it's not like you've done something to be born into that kind of faith. You grow up in it and you follow it.
And also it was very interesting when you told me, when we were speaking, and you told me about how some of your earliest Christmases in the north, when everybody gets together, the variety at the food table from, a North Indian home to a South Indian home, or somebody from the west or east or wherever, considering, when you're in the army, you have people from all over. Yes. That was also an interesting blend.
Yes, because I feel ridiculously proud of the fact that I'm from an army background, because it gives me such an, open mind towards so many things. When we grew up, it was very rare, Dad kept his vacations for us to go to Kerala. So now Christmas, we got a short vacation. So during some years, we would go and visit him where he is posted. So that is when I experienced the unit potluck, where the Christian families would go, get together and do a potluck. So there are Biharis in it, there are people from Andhra, there are people from Goa, Northeast, and they would all bring their specialty dishes, which they would serve at a Christmas feast. Now, when it was all put together, the Christmas table looked like an Indian food map rather than a festival food map.
So lovely.
Yes, and for a child who grew up eating appam and stew and beef ulartiyadu and parota for Christmas, it was a surprise to see, a vindaloo or another pork dish or a Bihari style mutton, or a duck curry Goan style or a biryani, being served at a Christmas feast. It's not like I was not, familiar with the dishes. It's more like I had never seen them during a Christmas feast. Why? Because I'm a Mallu, so we celebrated this way. But that was an eye opener because I realized that yes, as a Mallu, I have a certain, understanding of what our Christmas feast looks like, and it is of course authentic. But that doesn't mean that is the reality for everyone. Their feast looks completely different. And everything is delicious. So you just need to be a bit open-minded, and say, okay.
That's all there is. I mean, even for us also, I still remember Christmas growing up. We had people from all over, living in any colony, and the understanding of Christmas was mainly what we studied about, like Christianity and the Bible and a little bit of the history. And so when you're in school, then your annual functions, in end of the year functions, annual days, you'd have Christmas carols happening and all of that with the decoration, the tree, the wreaths. I can't tell you how fascinated I was with that entire, dress up and everything. Everyone's wearing these pretty frocks with tulle and shoes and everything. And I'm like, gosh, look at this. As it is, how we were, we all were so fascinated with that Gora skin color and everything. That wasn't us. So everything about it was so interesting. So listening to it as I grew up, I think my understanding of it became pretty much like yours. I used to look for the star in someone's home. I used to want to look at somebody's Christmas tree and see what it was all about. And so much of our understanding is out of the books we read.
Yes. And it's also like if I if and when I talk to my North Indian friends, their understanding of Christmas, but then it's reasonable because it comes from movies, it comes from what they see in how it's celebrated in the West, because that is how the media portrays it.
Absolutely.
But right, so you're a Christian, then you wear a gown for your wedding. Yes, we do wear a gown, but ask me if any of the Mallus wore, and that is a recent time thing. Now kids, they are born and brought up in different parts of the country and even abroad, so they insist on wearing what they want to wear for their wedding. They want that kind of freedom. But traditionally, Mallus got married in the cream and golden white saris.
Yes, so pretty. So pretty.
Yeah, beautiful nonetheless. But nobody really knew about, you got married in saris. This happens in Mallu churches. In, Keralites do get married like that. Nobody really knew about it because everyone was like, why didn't you wear a gown? I don't really have to. It's not a mandate. Yes, the Western Christians, they do get married in gowns. They do exchange rings. When I got married to a Marthumite, the ring ceremony was different. Their ring ceremony is slightly different. The ring is blessed by the priest and it's given to you to wear by him. Whereas in Catholics, it's exchanged between the bride and the groom. So there are slight differences there, which is not known. The more popular version of it, obviously, is what you see in the movies and what you've seen that way. But there are nuances in selective regions. If you go to Northeast or Goa, which we have imbibed from our own culture, and kind of integrated into Christianity or the Christian customs. So that
all the celebrations are like that. It's all an amalgamation of different regions, and we are such a vast country with so much tradition and so many different beautiful local celebrations and local cultures. And literally, it's actually a culture. Every locality has its own little bit happening. So it's a beautiful amalgamation. So what does Christmas at home look like? I mean, in the sense in your own home. Now, when you celebrate Christmas, what is the anticipation? What happened? Tell us.
So, Christmas, the earliest sign that Christmas is, on the way is if you're preparing a wine. So, that is the first thing that happens is soaking of the fruits for the cake. One, because it has to happen can happen much earlier than when the celebration itself is. And then if you're preparing a wine, homemade wines, because that needs a little bit of time for fermentation and all that. So some people ferment it, initial fermentation for 15 days, some do it for 30, and some even go as far as 45 days. So depending on what you plan to do in these aspects, you need to start that early. Celebration wise, obviously the first sign again would be the carol singing troupe that comes to your house. So you have your choir members and other members who can sing, and kids who can play an instrument like drums or guitar. The entire bus bhar ke log aate hain, and there would be one person dressed as the Santa Claus also. And after the Sunday Mass, it would be announced that this region or this area of the parish would be covered during this days,
right.
And we need to. Those days are when we are available at home and waiting for them to come, and they would sing Christmas carols, and with all the tam-jam, the drums and the guitar and the kids and oldies, everyone together singing. And you have those are the times, especially in Mumbai, those are the times when I actually get to see the faces of my neighbors, because they are very curious about what they're living right next door, but I don't know who is living right next door. But when this happens, everyone's door is open, everyone is out and smiling, and it's customary to offer cake or black coffee, katan kapi as we call it, to the carol singing troupe. So when the neighbors come out, even the cake gets shared with them as well. That's like the entire joyful experience is actually shared to the entire floor. So I have like 6 flats on the same floor, and when this happens, everyone is out in the lobby, and we share that moment together. So that's where it starts. And then of course the meal itself. Christmas Day, midnight mass is done, and if you're like extra devoted like my mom is, then she would go for the morning mass as well. So midnight mass we attend, we come back home and sleep. Early morning is appam and stew for breakfast traditionally. So appam now depends. If you manage to get toddy, which is your coconut toddy, then you could make kallappam, which is kalla means toddy and appam of course the thing. If not, then we go with palappam. So palappam is the one which gets fluffy in the middle and crispy on the outside. Like and it's had with stew. So potato stew or vegetable stew. It could also be eaten with a spicy curry like a duck mappas or a quail mappas. So mappas is basically the masala mix, a certain kind of masala or the combination of masala that goes in, and then your protein. Now, depending on what kind of protein you use, the robustness of the flavors kind of differs. So it would be a bit light on the lighter side if you're using a lighter protein like a fish or maybe a chicken. But if you're using beef or you're using a duck, which are like harder meats, then it goes a bit more stronger. So if younger kids are there or older generation who are on diet restrictions, they can't eat too much spicy food, then they stick to stew and appam. Otherwise,
you don't need anything else. It's so delicious. It's one of my most favorite combinations.
It is. And the best part is, when people tell me about Kerala food, the first thing they will mention is parota and beef and all that. But people don't realize this Kerala cuisine is actually quite ideal for people who are vegan, because we extensively use coconut milk. That kind of replaces the dairy part of it, and the vegetables are cooked with a lot of coconut and coconut oil and stuff like that. So the vegetarian part of it is actually quite, not really explored by many. They stick to the meaty part of it, but Mandu cuisine actually has.
It's very benign. The food is very benign, I think. Their food and the vegetables, the combinations of vegetables and the kind of vegetables they use, I think is absolutely fabulous. Both visually as well as to the palate. Yes,
it is. So that is Christmas basically. Then it depends. I think the target is to put as much meat you can on the table. That seems that seems to be the flavor of every festival,
Right.
क्या रख सकते हैं? So let's say if you have all the cousins, like in my husband's family, we all his cousins, he's an only child, so all his masis and cousins, after marriage we would get together at one place, the elder masi's place. So they're like 5 or 6 females to help out. Even the men do help out with the stirring, and when you have to continuously stir your payasams or your halwas, that kind of manual work is handed over to the men. All the chopping and peeling of garlic and stuff is given to the kids, and the chopping and the specific chopping and the masala grinding are done by the other ladies. So we get together, and then it is like, let's do chicken. Okay, Holi is chicken, so let's do a chicken roast, let's do a kada fry. Kada is quail. Kada fry. And motta roast, duck motta, duck egg or quail eggs. And then you have your pork could be a curry or like a stir fry kind of a thing. Beef, obviously beef ulartiyadu would be there with coconut chunks and the masalas and curry leaves, and oh my goodness, that is like another thing altogether. And if you're even more adventurous, then we go for patri as well, the parota, make it at home. And lovely. you have your matar rice, and then of course then there are common elements which also make also feature into the sadhya. So those would be the vegetarian part of it, and that is to balance out the richness from all this meat and the heavy dishes that happen, like beef and this. Then to balance that richness out, you have a pulisheri or a erisheri, something sour and something lighter. So it kind of balances that meal. At the end, you will still feel like overstuffed, and
yes, anaconda.
Yes.
That is the common thing after the Satya. Also, when I was speaking about Onam with Nisha, also we came to common consensus that it is an anaconda syndrome. That's it.
Yes, and then of course fish has to be there. We are a fish loving population, and the kind of fish would depend on who is there to eat. So there are certain people who like sardines, there are certain people who like mackerel. Now I personally like sardines, so if I am there, my mom would go for sardine fry or a sardine toran. My husband likes mackerel, so then his वो तो फिर जमाई हो गया ना, तो फिर उसका प्रायोरिटी अलग हो जाता है.
I know, seriously.
बेटी को साइड कर देती हैं वो, एंड देन जमाई के प्रेफरेंस पे सब चला जाता है. तो देन देयर वुड बी अ मैकरल इन अ करी. यू विल हैव किंगफिश or even a mackerel curry mean the pearl spot pollich curry mean pollichadu which you do would be there. If someone is there who loves prawns, then prawns also get included. It's like a variety. Yeah, it's Christmas feast. It's the target is that is how you celebrate. It doesn't have, people think that you eat all this every day. No, if you look at our cuisine, we keep it very balanced, unless you're like a specific kind of personal preference and you want meat every day, that is a different thing. But otherwise it's a very good balance between the seasonal vegetables and protein intake in a certain limited way which happens. But Christmas, Easter, these are the festivals when we just let go. We like everything on the table, and even better if the whole family is around. So
and tuck it in with the right quantity of alcohol, and then the party begins. And what about dessert? Apart from the cake is there, and payasam, you said.
Payasam, yes, you can make payasam. You can do a pradhaman also, which is like the king of payasam. Now that would be a common theme between a sadhya and a Christmas feast. Again, you can also do, like in my house, because of that particular one jackfruit tree, we always had jackfruit halwa for dessert.
Imagine. Wow.
Time consuming thing, because you have to stir it till it really gets that sticky, that consistency. And that always, I remember that was a job handed over to my dad and my mama if they were around, because you need the upper body strength to use it.
Right, I know.
Yeah, and they would make a makeshift adup or a stove kind of a thing outside, like a wood fire. And big urlis, big patrams are kept on that. Ghee is added. This is given to them to roast, and they take turns, utilizing their upper body strength to stir it.
The 40s.
Yes, yes, the Fauji's get on to work like that, and they're the ones who insist on eating it also. So my buddy mummy would be like, "Okay, you want to eat it? Fine, go ahead."
Yeah.
But we have other things to prepare. This is your work, and same goes for payasam also, to make sure that it doesn't stick at the bottom. So these work were given to them, and I remember my mom's place had few of the coconuts which would be tapped for toddy regularly. So we had a regular toddy tapper who would come to our place and do it. So they would have a glass of toddy early in the morning and start this. So they are having their drinks and working on the dessert. They're quite happy men, you know. So this is Christmas scene. And as kids, when I was younger, my nanny would prepare these snacks like koralappam, which is like a folded rice flour crispy. And the fascinating part was you need like a funnel kind of, it's a funnel kind of a shape. You need like a cylindrical shape to wrap it around before you can take it out and fry it.
Right.
So my grandmother, she would use the stalk of the papaya leaf. So it's cylindrical in shape and is the right size to make that snack. Because now, if I have to make a koralappam, I'll have to look for like a that shape tool, or I have to buy a tool to make that, because where am I supposed to find a papaya tree? There are no papaya trees around. One, nobody grows papaya. So Kerala in that way is, people are quite resourceful. They use things around them very, very resourcefully, and sometimes in ingenious ways. Like I said, the kumbalappam, somebody obviously figured it out how to use that as a parcel, this thing, and to add that flavor into that food to make that snack even delicious. So these were things which, because I lived in Kerala, I learned and I've seen and I've had the privilege of eating. But my sister, she was completely she was born in Kerala, but then eventually brought to Jhansi immediately, and she grew up in the north. So there are so many things which I have experienced which she's not even now had the opportunity to experience. Same with my husband. He was born in MP, brought up in MP, and after that we moved all around the place like Pune and Mumbai. But the education, the knowledge that you get about these things while living in Kerala, because it's our culture, we are Mallis, right? But kids who are born and brought up outside in the north have very little knowledge of certain things, unless you have a dedicated parent who cooks these, makes a point to cook these snacks in the way it was done traditionally. Traditionally, they are losing the knowledge. They don't know, they've not heard about it. So
Absolutely. And nobody has time. And especially with two working parents and things like that, they can only do that much.
It's not their fault. It's just that we all live in different places for job opportunities. We've grown up like that. Even my mom, when she made Christmas feast while we were living in Jhansi, she would have to, substitute a lot of ingredients with what was available in North. So fresh coconut was not, easily available in
Right, yes.
It would be copra, or even if it was available, then it would be super costly. So for festival it was, but she would get it, but then the taste would be different, because even if I say that Kerala coconuts taste different, people will be like, oh, that's just being but no, it's true. Because of the climatic conditions or maybe the soil, every produce from each region tastes different, even though it's the same.
Oh yes.
So then it would be, how she would source certain items would be Kerala Express. Whoever has gone to Kerala during that time, they would be requested to bring back, 2 coconuts, or, bring us a kilo of tapioca or something that you wouldn't get in North. So she also had to do a lot of adjustments, and that is why I was like, this is not how Nani's Christmas feast would taste, I think I was very snobbish in that manner, because we didn't, as kids, we don't realize the amount of effort our parents are putting to prepare that. But as an adult, I realized my mom did a fabulous job of even, doing the best she could with
I
the
think they
thing
were
that
all, our mothers were all queens of jugaad, completely.
yes.
They make the best, and you wouldn't know the difference until you actually went out there. And like you said yourself, because you lived in Kerala, you knew that there was a different taste to something. Naito, that would have been manna from heaven anyway.
Yeah. That's how I have seen different phases of Christmas feast. I can do a pure Mallu one, but then thing is now I can do all of it. Like I can do a pure Mallu feast, I can do a bit of mix match to suit the palates of the others who have only lived in North, and even now after 14, 15 years of marriage, I can still surprise him with a dish which he has never eaten. Because I've stayed in Kerala, I have a lot to actually, present and say, oh, this is also something that is traditionally, done in Mallu cuisine.
So how does the day end? I mean, of course, everyone's eating and everyone continues to eat, and the day ends like that. Presents, are there presents? Christmas presents, Christmas tree, wreaths.
Christmas tree तो पहले से ही शुरू हो गया है. Because when the carol singing troop arrives, it's we've already decorated our house. So the curtains are changed, the trees are there, all of the other decorations are there, the star is put up, the wreath is put on the door. So before they arrive, the decoration part is almost complete.
Oh, lovely. And I know you make your own wreaths and all. The descriptions are so pretty. You make all of them yourself. It's so lovely, the flowers and everything.
Yes, that's a hobby that I got into by accident because there's only one shop near to my place which sells wreaths. And when I decided, because when my child was young, I wouldn't put it up because he would pull everything apart. So,
correct.
When he grew up a bit, I decided, okay, let's do a wreath this year. And he was so rude because it was peak festival season. And the shopkeeper was extremely rude. Like, he didn't have the time to talk nicely. I was asking simply. I was pissed off, and I came home and I said, I'm doing this myself. That's how it started. And it's been 3 years I've been doing
I
my
know.
own.
You've done such an amazing job on the whole thing. And so now when we come, we've celebrated Christmas with you, and we've shared so many lovely memories. So what is the recipe? Which one was the one that you said you'd share? Was it the snack that your grandmom made?
I had few in mind, and it was all related to my grandmother, because these are special ones,
Yeah.
And I thought I could do something that people enjoy in North and South.
Yes, and something that can be made.
So we get jackfruits, ripe jackfruits, in North as well. And the seed, when you're eating ripe jackfruit, the seeds are usually thrown away. Not if you're a Mallu. Mallus have different things to make, but for the North Indian people, like they usually throw it away. If you're making a raw one, obviously they use it in the curry. But when you're eating jackfruits, the ripe one, the seeds, so you can take away. I want to share a recipe for a kheer made out of jackfruit seeds.
Perfect. Wow. Okay.
It is delicious and it's creamy, and it's something that you can store to be made later on. So if you have jackfruit seeds, you can clean and dry it and keep it later on for a special occasion and make this kheer. So what you would need is, let's say, 24 to 25 seeds. Now it has a white pulpy covering on top, so you need to discard that. Inside there would be a brown skin. You can keep it whole. It has a slight bitter taste to it, like cashews when the covers have, so that way. So you can keep it in the kheer. You won't really, it gives a nutty taste to it. But if you want to wash and peel it, you can do that as well. You can partially scrape it off as well. So that choice is for whoever it is making. So you need around 24 to 25 numbers of jackfruit seeds, washed and peeled quite well. And then you need coconut, 1 cup of coconut for extracting coconut milk.
Right.
Now, grated coconut, I add warm water to it and keep it for some time, and not too much, just a little bit of water to cover the grated coconut, and I keep it for some time, and then I mash it with my hand and then extract. That's your first extract.
Right.
That's thick. that is thicker and that would be lesser in quantity. So keep that aside. Add a little bit of water, 1 cup again, to the same, coconut, and again mash it well and keep that extract, which would be thinner, or your second extract, aside. Now you need jaggery, around 200 grams, and you can melt that in 100 ml of water and then strain it. Right. So that if there is any sand or any other impurities, you can take them. Yeah. So then ghee, around 1 tablespoon. And then jackfruit seeds, around 4 or 5 of them roasted. This is separate from the 25 or 24 that we were taking out. 5 or 6 of them roasted and coarsely ground.
Correct.
Okay, that is to be the crunchy part of the kheer, like how you would use a kaju or badam in a kheer, like as a garnish. This is that part. So you pressure cook the jackfruit seeds in a half or 3/4 cup of water, just enough to cover them. And I say half or 3/4 because different seeds have different timing for cooking.
Correct.
So if it is uncooked, then you can add a little bit more water and then do it. But on high for 3 whistles and for around 30 minutes more on medium flame, you can cook them and they get it should be mashable consistency. Right? Once that is done, you grind them into a paste.
Okay.
Add ghee to a pan and you saute the roasted jackfruit seeds, which is coarsely ground, in that ghee, like you would do with cashews and raisins. So saute them a bit. Add the boiled jackfruit paste and jaggery and cook them to a light boil. When it comes to a light boil, you can add the second extract to it and then let it cook a little bit more. Once it's done, you'll from the fragrance itself, you'll know that it's already boiled, so you don't have to really cook. You're just making sure that everything is assimilated. And in the end, add your first extract, the thicker coconut milk, and then simmer for 2 minutes or 3 minutes after adding the first tetra, not more than that, and then you serve hot. That's your jackfruit pie.
Amazing. But does it have a flavor of the jackfruit since it's jackfruit seed?
It has a very nutty, rich flavor, not jackfruit, because jackfruit flavor is because of the fragrance. The fruit itself, what you're tasting is actually its scent. It's a very strong scent. Right. Seeds don't have that. Seeds have a creamy, nutty flavor to it.
Sounds very interesting. It's really interesting. I'm not a jackfruit fan. I somehow don't like the flavor of it. And although I know people revere jackfruit, but
this doesn't have that pungent taste or a flavor or a fragrance to it. This is more like a very rich, creamy payasam, how you would get when you have added a lot of good thick milk and condensed milk, and how you get a very thick rice payasam ka jo consistency.
Yes. Like a rubberish consistency, perhaps.
Exactly. And a nutty taste of the jackfruit seeds.
Awesome. This sounds really interesting. I need to now start asking people who has jackfruit and wants to give me seeds.
If best bet would be to find contact your Bandhu friends. If I go to Kerala, I'll get you some. But if you have
please do. This sounds really fascinating, and you'll give us this recipe, on what's it called? Write it and give it to me in text so that I can share this for all those who might want to be brave enough to try this. This is really, really interesting, because the best part is that a lot of times, like you said, half of the things that can be used, one region thinks it's a waste and throws it away, and another one thinks it's perfect and makes something awesome out of it. I think that's true for everybody in every region. There's some such ingredient that we all do something to.
True. In Kerala, chakkakuru, this chakka is jackfruit and kuru means seed. Chakkakuru is used in many different ways. In thoran, you add it to the fish thoran, you can have a stir fry. So it's not wasted anyway. But in North, I've found when you eat the ripe ones, when you get it from the tailors where they, you get just the carpels of the fruit, and the seed is thrown away. And it is such a delicious and nutritious thing to use. And this kheer, anyone who loves desserts, they would love this kheer. There is nothing to hate about it or not like.
Amazing. This is really, really interesting. So I think we have a unique recipe, and for all the things that grandmothers make, I think we should leave it to grandmothers to be making it, or anybody else who inherits those, inherits those talents, because I think you and I should do the simpler stuff.
No, but then it's somewhere part of our duty to actually, carry it on as well. Like in my house now, when I Christmas cuisine, I make, sure that I include one or two things which are not usually made or they haven't tasted yet.
Absolutely. That's how the heritage. I mean, that's how a legacy is. Sort of created, and everyone wants to carry forward something of it for our memories of people from who we learn so many things. This has been such a fabulously interesting conversation, Rajee.
Pleasure to talk to you too, Payal. I mean, we rarely get an opportunity to talk like that, and I am so glad we're talking about our favorite topic, food. So.
Yes, absolutely. That's the reason why I tell a lot of people that this is my tribe, food, conversations on food and everything is talking with people about it is truly, those are my tribe. And I think from all of us here at Rasoi Ke Rahasya, we wish all of you a fabulous Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I wish you a year of wonderful celebrations. And I think with the new year around the corner after that, I hope there are glad tidings in this year to come. And we wish you and your family the absolute best, Rajee. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Payal. I wish you the same, and I wish that Rasoi Ke Rahasya reaches new heights and you continue to do the beautiful work that you're doing right now. So, best of luck for that.
Yes, thanks so much. रसोई के रहस्य का ये था आखिरी एपिसोड इस साल का। क्रिसमस मनाई हमने राजी फिलिप मैथ्यू के साथ, और इतनी खूबसूरत बचपन की बातें, इतनी ट्रेडिशनल चीजें हमने सुनी। आई होप आप सबको पसंद आई हो। अब अगले साल मिलेंगे, किसके साथ, कब, कैसे, उसके लिए इंतजार कीजिए और जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ रसोई के रहस्य पर। नमस्कार।